Please stop clapping, you only encourage me. I'd like to say that these are the cheapest aircraft we've ever ordered, but unfortunately, they're not. Your man on my left here did us on this negotiation, but we're very pleased to have reached this agreement. We had a bit of a bust-up about a year ago over pricing, and we've had to move somewhat to get this deal done today. But I think it's a bit like a marriage. You know, we have occasional rows and occasional splits, and we come together and kiss and make up. And I want to thank Dave and Stan for the speed with which we've put together this deal. We only started negotiating, I think, renegotiating about a month, 2 months ago. It just goes to show when two fast-moving, we believe, well-run companies like Boeing and Ryanair get together, I think good things happen, and good things happen pretty quickly. I've only got 5 minutes, so we're going to... am I doing the slide presentation? So I've got to do a slide presentation now. Here's a wonderful rendition of a Ryanair Boeing 737 MAX 10 aircraft. With these aircraft, we will be able to offer lower fares in Europe, which is very important because we are not alone Boeing's number one customer on the narrow-body side in Europe. We're probably Boeing's only customer in Europe, the home of Airbus, and we're very proud and pleased that the Ryanair-Boeing partnership continues to lead the industry in Europe and continues to knock 7 bells, I think, as we'd say, out of all of our Airbus competitors in Europe. So who are we? We are Europe's lowest cost airline group. We have the lowest cost, lowest fares. We're number one for traffic this year. We'll carry 185 million international passengers, which makes us the number one international airline in the world. There's a couple of smaller US domestic airlines who are slightly bigger than us, but we're catching up quickly. We're number one for customer service and reliability. We're also number one EU airline for ESG. We have a very strong balance sheet, and boy, are we going to need it in the next couple of years as we pay for these babies. But we're convinced that our combination of financial strength and lowest cost will make us and the Boeing partnership the long-term winner in Europe. We cover everywhere in Europe. For those of you who are traveling to Europe this summer, book now on Ryanair.com. We need your business. We have these Boeing aircraft based at 91 airports across Europe. We fly to 230 airports across 36 countries. Currently, the fleet is 540 aircraft. We are still, Stan has promised to deliver me about another, I think we're due about another 20 aircraft in the next 2 months, and Stan has said they'll all get there on time. We're operating about 2,500 routes, more than 3,000 daily flights, carrying 500,000 passengers each day. And we are, I'm pleased to say, making very strong market share gains, principally from Airbus competitors all over Europe. In Italy, our market share in the last post-COVID has risen by 13 points. We now have about a 40% market share. Hungary, Austria, Poland, Ireland, Spain, UK. Basically, we're taking market share from most of our European competitors because we have lower airfares. We have the best manufactured aircraft in the world, giving us unbeatable reliability and service, which our customers have come to expect. So let's talk about today's good news. It is an order for 300 Boeing MAX 10 babies. It is a little bit big even for an airline of our size, so it will be subject to our shareholder approval at our AGM in September. The deal is 150 firm and 150 options, although historically we have never failed to not take our options, so we confidently expect that we will convert those options in due course. The delivery start in early 2027, so our year-end March 27, and they'll run out to 2033. There is a 40 billion list price. I have been told to say there was a competitive discount agreed, although I didn't think it was particularly competitive.
It's very generous.
We got screwed by Calhoun again. We're just going to have to run harder to make money here for the next number of years. The good news for our shareholders and our passengers is, though, that these aircraft have 21% more seats. We'll be operating a 228-seat aircraft compared to 189 on our NG fleet. And we're particularly pleased to welcome today Stan Culp and the team from GE, the team from Safran and CFM, who are our engine partners. And the LEAP engines are delivering us staggering efficiency, staggering in the last number of years, staggering fuel efficiency and environmental improvements. So we expect these aircraft will offer us 20% lower fuel burn per seat, 20% lower CO2 emissions and 50% less noise than the NGs, which are already pretty spectacular in terms of environmental performance. We estimate they'll deliver us another 10% ex-fuel unit cost savings, and therefore the cost gap between us and all those other Airbus competitors in Europe will widen further, and it allows us the opportunity to grow revenues by 20% given the extra seats. We will use, it's not all growth here, about 50% of this order, 150 aircraft will be used to replace our older NGs. We first started taking NGs from Boeing in the early noughties, and by the time we get to 2027, they'll be hitting 24, 25 years old. And so some of this, half this order we expect will be replacement aircraft, half it will, though, be growth. And that enables us to grow, continue to be very ambitious in our traffic growth. We expect to grow this baby by 80% over the next decade, from 168 million passengers last year to 300 million passengers annually by 2034, which will give us, we think, about 30% market share in Europe. And more importantly, it means we're going to create about 10,000 new jobs for very highly paid pilots, cabin crew, engineers, spread all across Europe over the next decade. We have a very strong balance sheet. We have BBB credit rating. 2-year gap in the deliveries, I think, will help us to build up cash during 2025 and 2026 because we'll have an awful lot of PDPs and deposits to pay to my colleagues and friends here on my left-hand side. We will we'll boost cash flows, and it's important for us that we try to fund as much of this out of our own cash flow because interest rates are rising and we want to minimize our borrowing costs and try to fund as much of this out of cash that we can. Our existing fleet of 540 aircraft is already debt-free. We expect aircraft CapEx will continue to run at about 2 billion euros a year from 2027 onwards, and that's pretty similar to what we've been funding for the last 4 years during the MAX 8200 order. We expect some offset on CapEx because we'll be selling out the older NGs, but we expect to fund most of this from internal cash flows and low-cost debt. In terms of growth, and here's the real story for us, for our shareholders, for our people, and for our customers. Last year we carried 168 million passengers. We expect to use this new fleet of Boeing aircraft to lower airfares in Europe for the next decade and grow to carrying 300 million passengers per annum, in which ways we will be bigger than those big American domestic customers. I think it's important. Southwest has been the model that we followed here in the US. Southwest has always been a Boeing customer. Ryanair has always been a Boeing customer. And I think it's telling that the two largest, most successful low-fare airlines in the world, in Europe and the US, are avid Boeing customers. And I want to say, particularly today in this room, thank you to our partners in Boeing. We couldn't have gotten to where we are today without the great products at Boeing. The teams in Wichita, the teams in Seattle, and the very smaller team here in Washington are producing. You're making great aircraft. You keep building them and we'll keep buying them. In terms of traffic... Honestly, please, stop clapping. I'll keep talking if you keep clapping. And nobody wants to hear me keep talking. Just in terms of traffic growth, the fleet, this is how we see the fleet evolve. So we'll have about 537 aircraft at March. We're still taking some deliveries in April, May and June. So the core fleet this summer will be about 550 aircraft, and it will grow to 800 aircraft over the next decade. You see the number of NGs, which is currently 410, will fall to about 250. The MAX 8200s will have 210 by the time we take the last delivery in early 2025. And then we look forward in 2027 to taking the MAX 10 aircraft. So in summary, this MAX 10 order is critical to driving Ryanair's fleet renewal and enabling us to grow out to 2034. We expect traffic growth up to 300 million passengers per annum, and that will create 10,000 new jobs for highly paid pilots, cabin crew and engineers all across Europe. The European airline industry is consolidating, and that's throwing up huge growth opportunities for Ryanair and for our aircraft partner, Boeing. These new aircraft give us lower costs, and we will pass on those lower costs in the form of lower airfares, therefore driving our growth. The MAX 10, I think, is going to be the next game changer. 228 seats, 21% more seats than the NGs, and it helps us to drive sustainable, environmentally efficient profit growth. We have a strong balance sheet with which we hope to be able to pay for all these very expensive new toys we're buying, and we think the MAX 10 will deliver for Ryanair, our people, our customers, and above all, our shareholders. Thank you very much.